It's an amazing discovery. I will take you step by step. Tombs, inscriptions, bones.
Beneath the sacred sands of Giza lies the place where the gods were once believed to walk among men and the divine. For thousands of years, the Great Sphinx has guarded Egypt's holy land, yet what humanity truly knows about it remains very limited. Until now, when modern scanning technology was finally deployed, the ancient rumors of hollow chambers deep beneath its paws began to show their first signs of truth. At last, the man known as the keeper of Egypt's secrets, Zahi Hawass, has spoken.
Nothing is hidden underneath the Sphinx.
For as long as we've looked up at the stars, we've wondered if someone might be looking back. From giant radio dishes hidden in deserts to telescopes orbiting high above Earth, every generation has tried to send a message into the unknown. For many people, the story of ancient Egypt feels like something frozen in time, a world of sand, stone, and silence. But for one man, that silence was never enough. In the 1960s, scientists beamed radio messages into deep space. They contained numbers, symbols, and even simple images of human life. Born in 1947 in the northern city of Damietta, Hawass didn't grow up among pyramids or temples. Yet something about Egypt's forgotten glory called to him. He studied archaeology at Cairo University, often saying that his first visit to a tomb changed his life forever. Later, he earned his PhD at the University of Pennsylvania, learning from some of the best minds in the field. When he returned home, Egypt was in the middle of reclaiming its identity, and Hawass was ready to become its voice. He quickly rose to lead the Supreme Council of Antiquities, the most powerful archaeological organization in the country. Under his leadership, nothing could be excavated or studied without his approval. Over the next few decades, he led more than 200 missions, from the Valley of the Kings to the great temples of Abydos and the endless sands of Giza. Each discovery carried his name, and each headline made him a global symbol of Egypt's pride. You could always recognize him: the wide Panama hat, the deep commanding voice, and the determined look that seemed to belong to another century. To the world, he was Egypt's guardian, the man who stood between ancient secrets and modern greed. But fame and control often walked together. Hawass became as feared as he was respected. He demanded discipline at his sites, kept tight control over media access, and personally decided what foreign teams could dig and publish. Critics accused him of hiding information and manipulating discoveries to protect Egypt's image. Some called him a dictator of archaeology. Others saw him as a necessary shield, the last true guardian of a civilization that had been looted for centuries. Despite the controversy, his passion never faded. When he stood before cameras, he spoke not as a scientist, but as someone who felt the spirits of the pharaohs still watching. He once said, "Every stone in Egypt has a voice. My job is to listen." And for years, the world listened to him in return. Yet, behind all that authority, one mystery followed him everywhere: the Great Sphinx of Giza. It was his pride, his obsession, and perhaps his greatest burden. Researchers from Japan, Europe, and the United States repeatedly requested access to study the monument, suggesting that the erosion marks on its body pointed to a much older origin than official records admitted. Hawass refused them every time. He insisted the Sphinx was built under Pharaoh Khafra around 2500 BCE, but his tone grew sharper whenever anyone questioned that claim. Its orbit changed ever so slightly, as if something inside it was adjusting its course. Telescopes around the world turned toward it: JWST, Hubble, and the Very Large Telescope in Chile. It was as if the monument itself held a truth that only he knew, a truth he wasn't ready to share. And then whispers began to spread that under the sands of Giza, Instruments had detected something that could change everything. The question now was no longer whether Zahi Hawass was hiding something. It was what exactly he had found beneath the Sphinx and why he waited so long to tell the world. The Great Sphinx of Giza has stood for more than 4,000 years. Its enormous body half buried in sand, its face staring endlessly toward the sunrise. To the people of ancient Egypt, it was more than stone. It was the guardian of sacred ground, the silent bridge between humanity and the gods. Even today, the monument feels alive, as if it remembers something the world has forgotten. The Sphinx stretches 73 meters long and rises 20 meters high, carved from a single massive block of limestone weighing over 200,000 tons. It is the largest statue ever made from one piece of stone, and no written record tells us exactly when or how it was created. But then something changed. The more people studied it, the more it seemed to respond. Every time NASA or the European Space Agency released new data about the object, its behavior shifted in ways no one could explain. Every year, priests gathered at dawn as the first rays of sunlight touched the Sphinx's face, marking the eternal cycle between death and renewal. But not everything about this monument fits the story that textbooks tell. The ratio of carbon dioxide to water vapor was completely off, 7.6 to 1, far higher than any natural comet ever recorded. At first, researchers believed it was just a coincidence. If those marks were truly made by water, then the Sphinx must have existed during a time when this desert was still green. That means it could be thousands of years older than Pharaoh Khafre, the ruler who is officially credited with building it. This theory became even more intriguing when ancient inscriptions were re-examined. One of them, known as the Inventory Stela, dates back to the reign of Khufu, Khafre's father. It states that the Temple of Isis already stood beside the Sphinx before Khufu was born. In other words, even to the builders of the Great Pyramid, the Sphinx was already ancient. A second inscription, the Dream Stela of Pharaoh Thutmose IV, carved more than 1,000 years later, tells another story. It describes how the young Thutmose fell asleep in the shadow of the Sphinx and dreamed that the statue spoke to him, asking to be freed from the sand that buried it. When he cleared the monument, the Sphinx rewarded him by making him king. That record calls the Sphinx a sacred monument from the beginning of time, suggesting it was already mysterious even to the Egyptians themselves. Adding to the mystery is its position on the Giza Plateau. When viewed from above, the Sphinx, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, and the Pyramid of Khafre form a perfect diagonal line that mirrors the three stars of Orion's belt. Many astronomers believe this alignment was intentional, symbolizing the link between the pharaohs and the heavens. Others, including Hawass, dismiss it as coincidence, but the accuracy of the alignment is hard to ignore. Every angle, every proportion seems designed with purpose, as if the builders were following a cosmic blueprint rather than simple geometry. Even the face of the Sphinx raises questions. Some researchers believe it once had a lion's head, perfectly matching its body, and that the human features were carved later to represent a ruler. Measurements show the head is proportionally smaller than the body, strengthening this idea. If true, it would mean the statue was not originally royal at all, but a far older symbol of power from a forgotten civilization. No one can yet prove these theories, but the clues continue to build. The Sphinx does not only guard the sands of Egypt, it guards time itself. Each discovery around it challenges the boundaries of what we think we know about history. And while Hawass insists that everything about the monument can be explained by traditional archaeology, even he cannot deny the signs of something deeper, something buried beneath the surface. Because under those massive paws, strange readings have been detected, patterns that suggest empty spaces inside the bedrock. Could these voids hold the answer to who truly built the Sphinx and why it faces the sun? What secret has it been protecting since the dawn of civilization? The search for those answers begins when technology finally peers beneath the sand. By the early 1990s, the mystery of the Sphinx had become more than a question of age or symbolism. It was now a matter of what lay hidden beneath its enormous body. Egypt had opened its doors to new technology, and scientists from around the world arrived, determined to see what the naked eye could not. In 1991, a team from Waseda University in Japan used electromagnetic waves to map the ground around the monument. Their readings shocked everyone. Beneath the northern paw of the Sphinx, they detected a large rectangular void, perfectly shaped, with clear edges that suggested artificial construction. It wasn't an ordinary cave or crack in the limestone. It looked engineered, like a chamber built for a purpose that no one could yet explain. 6 years later, in 1997, an American-Egyptian research group returned to the site with even more advanced equipment. They used electromagnetic sounding, a method that could scan deeper layers of rock and identify density changes underground. This time, the data revealed something even stranger: a long tunnel running along the body of the Sphinx, stretching from the head toward the tail. The signals showed smooth surfaces and sharp angles, details impossible for nature to create on its own. For a brief moment, it felt as if modern science was about to prove what ancient legends had always hinted at, that the Sphinx was more than a statue, that it was a gateway. But just as quickly as the excitement began, it ended. When the data reached Cairo, the project was suddenly shut down. No official reason was given. But the pattern didn't fit. There was too much nickel, too evenly distributed, and no sign of random scattering. It looked processed, almost refined. To this day, those raw scans have never been released to the public. That silence only made the rumors grow louder. Some claimed the voids were tombs of forgotten pharaohs. Others believed they were storage chambers for lost records of an ancient civilization. Theories spread quickly, but one detail kept resurfacing. The Sphinx was not alone. Its underground secrets seemed connected to another discovery made decades earlier. Back in 1933 and 1934, Egyptian archaeologist Selim Hassan uncovered something extraordinary not far from the Sphinx, near the Pyramid of Khafra. It was a massive shaft, cut deep into the bedrock, now known as the Osiris Shaft. Could Three-Eye Atlas be one of them? The light reflecting off its surface seemed to behave like polished metal, producing a faint glow similar to that of an engine under pressure. Two of them still contained empty basalt coffins weighing several tons. There were no inscriptions, no royal names, and no explanation for who was buried there or why it was built. What was even more fascinating was its alignment. When plotted on a map, the Osiris Shaft and the Sphinx lined up perfectly along a north-south axis, almost as if they were part of a single architectural plan. If that was true, then the chambers detected under the Sphinx might connect to a much larger network of tunnels running beneath the Giza plateau. For centuries, locals had told stories of hidden passageways that linked the pyramids together, but archaeologists dismissed them as myth. Now the technology seemed to prove that those legends had a foundation in reality. Still, every discovery only raised more questions. Why were the tunnels built so deep? And why were some of them flooded with groundwater that carried traces of salt, even though the Nile was miles away? Why did every attempt to study these areas end in sudden government silence? And most importantly, what was so dangerous about uncovering what lay below? As the debate grew, one thing became clear. The sands of Giza were not just hiding stone and dust. They were protecting something far older, something that modern science was only beginning to sense. And soon, new technology would push even deeper, challenging history itself to give up its final secret. The next step would no longer be about theory or rumor. It would be about proof, and that's when the machine started to see through the sand. The mystery beneath the Sphinx was no longer just an ancient rumor whispered through the sands. It had become a challenge to modern science itself. For centuries, people had imagined what might lie under its massive stone paws. Now, technology was finally advanced enough to look beneath the surface and separate myth from reality. Scientists from around the world arrived at Giza, bringing machines that could see through layers of rock without lifting a single grain of sand. Ground-penetrating radar, or GPR, was the first tool to uncover what human eyes never could. When its waves swept across the northern base of the Sphinx, they detected something shocking. A rectangular cavity 9 by 12 meters wide, perfectly shaped and positioned directly beneath the statue. Further scans revealed a narrow corridor running parallel to the body, aligned with precision no natural formation could match. The data was clear: straight lines, right angles, and density gaps that only human construction could explain. For a moment, the world held its breath. Had they finally found the entrance to a hidden chamber? Officials in Cairo called for calm, claiming the results needed confirmation, but the silence that followed spoke louder than any statement. Years later, a group of researchers used a different kind of vision: muon imaging, a technique that reads cosmic particles as they pass through solid objects. The same method had already revealed the mysterious 30-meter Great Void inside the Great Pyramid of Khufu. When they turned it toward the Sphinx, the outcome was even stranger. The detectors showed multiple low-density zones under the statue's body, arranged in a pattern eerily similar to the radar data. These were not random hollows or cracks in the limestone. They looked designed, intentional, and aligned with the Sphinx's central axis. Still, no excavation was allowed. Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities insisted the site remain untouched until more evidence appeared. Then came 2023, the year artificial intelligence entered the story. A collaboration between Cairo University and a Boston research lab trained an AI model to analyze decades of radar and muon readings. The program recreated a full 3D map of what might exist below. What it revealed sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Beneath the Sphinx, the AI visualized chambers connected by narrow tunnels, each showing reflective signals consistent with metal or polished stone. At the core of this network was a single massive void, the same size and shape first recorded years earlier. Soon after, a repair team drilled microsamples near the northern paw. Among the dust, analysts found traces of granite, a rock that does not exist naturally at Giza. Its nearest source was Aswan, over 800 kilometers away. Someone, thousands of years ago, had carried it there deliberately. The purpose remains unknown. To some, it meant the Sphinx's builders had knowledge and technology far beyond their era. To others, it hinted at a ritual chamber built for gods, not men. No one could say for sure, but one fact was impossible to deny: the stone giant was not as solid as it seemed. Beneath its weathered surface, the instruments had drawn a picture of precision and mystery, a design that defied the sands of time. And while Zahi Hawass continued to urge patience, his words began to sound less like denial and more like preparation. If these chambers were ever confirmed, Egypt's history would have to be rewritten from the ground up. So what was really hidden inside that ancient void? A pharaoh's tomb, a forgotten technology, or something the world isn't ready to see? When the world finally heard Zahi Hawass speak again, no one was prepared for what he was about to say. For decades, the man known as the Keeper of Egypt's Secrets had denied every rumor about hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx. He had laughed off foreign researchers, blocked countless expeditions, and told the press that there was nothing new to find. But in 2024, at 78 years old, his tone changed. During an interview broadcast on Egyptian national television, Hawass leaned closer to the camera and said quietly, "We found something under the Sphinx. The scans are real. Egypt is not ready for what comes next." The room fell silent. Within hours, clips of his statement spread across the internet, translated into dozens of languages. To some, it was a confession. To others, it was a warning. News outlets across the world picked up the story, each headline more dramatic than the last. CNN called it "The Revelation Beneath the Sands." BBC described it as "the discovery Egypt tried to hide." Hashtags like #HiddenTruth and #Sphinx Revealed exploded across social media. People demanded answers, and amateur researchers began reanalyzing every radar image and muon scan that had ever been released. That same week, several images surfaced online, allegedly leaked from internal AI tomography models. They showed a rectangular cavity deep beneath the Sphinx, connected to narrow corridors that extended south toward the pyramid complex. In one of the reconstructed frames, a section glowed brighter than the rest, showing unusually high reflectivity. To many experts, that meant the presence of metal or polished stone surfaces, perhaps even sealed doors. Egyptian authorities neither confirmed nor denied the authenticity of the leak. Their silence only made the mystery grow louder. Inside archaeological circles, the reaction was mixed. Some researchers accused Hawass of staging a publicity stunt to regain fame, while others believed he had finally decided to tell the truth before it was too late. Dr. Robert Schoch, a geologist long known for his theory that the Sphinx was older than Egypt's dynastic civilization, called Hawass's statement a historic turning point. He told reporters, "For years, we were told there was nothing down there. Now we know that wasn't true." But within Egypt, the reaction was far more complicated. Government ministries issued no press releases, and journalists reported being denied access to the Giza plateau for several weeks. Some said new security checkpoints had been installed around the Sphinx site. Others claimed researchers were being asked to sign new confidentiality agreements before entering the area. If the data was correct, 3i Atlas was communicating by turning gas emissions on and off with mechanical precision. To test the idea, Grok simulated the pattern in binary code. After decoding the first sequence, the AI produced a chilling result. 2 simple words: "Get ready." The message spread quickly inside NASA's internal network, causing both excitement and fear. Those words reignited the debate. What could possibly be so dangerous beneath the Sphinx that even Egypt's most famous archaeologist would hesitate to reveal it? International experts demanded the release of the scan data, but requests were quietly ignored. Unofficial sources hinted that the chamber might contain inscriptions or materials that predate the known Egyptian civilization. If that were true, it would mean the Sphinx was not just a symbol of Egypt, but a relic from a forgotten world. Meanwhile, conspiracy forums lit up with theories. Some suggested the chamber held advanced tools or documents describing lost knowledge. Others imagined it as a hall of records, a mythical library said to hold the wisdom of an ancient civilization that vanished before recorded history. That idea broke everything we thought we knew about alien technology. Instead of using radio waves, this entity could be speaking through light, temperature, and molecular rhythm. It had made the world look at the Sphinx again with wonder. Scientists, journalists, and ordinary people were all asking the same question. If the official guardian of Egypt's history finally admitted there was something beneath the Sphinx, what else might still be hidden under the sands? And if the truth was powerful enough to shake the man who spent his life protecting it, what could possibly come next? In 2025, a new alliance of scientists decided to do what no one else had dared: explore beneath the Sphinx without breaking a single stone. The team combined experts from Cairo University, MIT, and Waseda University, each bringing technology that could see where even light could not reach. Their mission was simple in words, but nearly impossible in execution: to confirm whether the hidden chamber detected under the Sphinx was connected to the mysterious Osiris shaft, a deep underground system discovered near the Pyramid of Khafra decades earlier. Using fiber optic robots, radar arrays, and cosmic muon sensors, the scientists began a new era of non-invasive archaeology. The instruments soon picked up faint pathways leading from the Sphinx's base toward the old shaft, and something even stranger: evidence of saltwater deep below the limestone. Laboratory tests showed that this water had a unique salinity, sitting somewhere between that of the Nile and the Mediterranean Sea. It suggested a link to Lake Karun, a body of water 40 miles southwest of Giza, once described by Herodotus as part of Egypt's legendary underground labyrinth. If this connection was real, it meant the Sphinx, the pyramids, and the ancient lake were all part of a single sacred network, built to mirror the Egyptian belief in the journey of the soul through the mouth of the passages, the gateway to the underworld. Archaeologists now call it the oldest subterranean system on Earth, a man-made maze that may have carried rituals or something far more valuable through the sands of time. And if the chamber beneath the Sphinx is ever opened, it could reveal not just the resting place of a pharaoh, but the real map of Egypt's lost underworld itself. The only question left is, when that door finally opens, will we be ready to face what waits inside? The sands of Giza have guarded their secrets for thousands of years, but now the walls are beginning to speak. Beneath the Sphinx, technology has revealed patterns that defy history: chambers, tunnels, and traces of a civilization far older than we ever imagined. The silence seemed selective. Meanwhile, the European Space Agency continued its own work independently. Stay curious. The next revelation may change everything we know about history itself.